Today, something genuinely unusual happened with this comet. And honestly, it's starting to look like even NASA's specialists are running out of explanations that would allow them to dismiss everything as ordinary cometary behavior. Every time it seems like the object has finally calmed down and is behaving predictably, it flips everything upside down again. Just when you think you've figured out what's going on, here comes another surprise. And believe me, today's data might be the clearest hint yet that the comet isn't fading, as many assumed. It's still actively changing right now. If you find this topic interesting and want to follow the 3i Atlas story as it unfolds, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new updates. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the breakdown, and leave a comment sharing your thoughts about everything that's happening. Let's break down what's new. And no, this is not the same as before. But first, if you're interested in this topic, you can subscribe, enable notifications, and leave a like whenever you want. For the best experience, switch to full screen. The most interesting part is coming. Over the last few days, everyone was focused on the outbursts, the jets firing into space, the thrust they generate, the changes in the coma, that fluffy cloud of dust and gas surrounding the nucleus. People discussed how much material the comet was losing, where it was going, and why the coma was so unstable. But today's update is about something entirely different. Not about what the comet is expelling, but about how it moves, how it spins, how it behaves as a physical object. This morning, when observatories processed fresh measurements of its brightness and position, researchers noticed something odd. At first, just the faintest hint, but once you see it, it becomes obvious. The rotation state has changed and nobody watched the nucleus tumble over. They detected it through light, through variations in brightness. Until now, the rotation period seemed fairly stable, a repeating rhythm, one cycle every few hours, smooth and predictable. There were minor fluctuations, but nothing that would raise serious concern. But the new data completely broke that smooth rhythm. When researchers tried to match today's peak brightness points with yesterday's rotation period, the peaks no longer lined up. The brightness maxima that occurred at a specific phase yesterday now appear earlier. Just a tiny bit, fractions of a second, but consistently, again and again. And consistency is everything. It means the rotation period is shortening. The comet is spinning up. This isn't a massive jump. But if the object completes hundreds of rotations, those fractions of a second accumulate into significant acceleration. Something, or someone, is increasing its rotation speed. Of course, jets can change the spin rate. That's well known. If the outflow of material is asymmetric, it acts like a miniature thruster, altering angular momentum. It happens. But here's the strange part. Along with the shortening of the rotation period, the shape of the light curve changed. Yesterday, there was one clearly dominant peak and a faint secondary one. Today, the weak peak has grown, almost matching the main one. This means a second significant active region on the nucleus has intensified. The torques acting on the comet have become more complex, forces from multiple directions, a completely different dynamic regime. And that's still not all. New high-contrast images revealed a previously hidden structure, a faint but unmistakable spiral wrapping around the nucleus within the inner coma. On ordinary images, just a blurred halo. But after processing, a clear spiral pattern. And a spiral means two things at once. First, the jets are steady and strong, carving a repeating pattern in the dust and gas. Second, the rotation speed is increasing, and noticeably so. The spiral is tightening compared to earlier images. The tighter the coil, the higher the angular velocity. This is direct visual confirmation of acceleration. The rotation period is clearly shrinking. The comet is undeniably spinning faster than before. The second major active region has intensified and now contributes significantly to the outflow dynamics. And the pattern of gas threads around the nucleus is forming an increasingly dense, increasingly distinct spiral. When you combine these three observations, it becomes evident what NASA tried to gently gloss over in today's update, as if unwilling to say it out loud. The comet is changing not just in brightness or coma structure. Its rotation is changing, the most fundamental parameter governing its physical state. And that, my friends, is no small matter. It's a critically important signal. Why? Because comet nuclei are ancient, fragile clumps of ice. dust, and rock that have existed for billions of years. They're not solid, not monolithic, more like giant snowballs held together by weak gravity and frozen water. And such objects have a limit. When the rotation becomes too fast, the material can no longer hold itself together. Centrifugal force wins. Surface layers can start slipping, equatorial ridges can collapse, and in the worst case, the entire nucleus can crack and fragment. We've seen this before with other comets in our system. Everything looks relatively calm. The rotation slowly increases, and then, suddenly, a breakup. And here's what's truly unsettling. This comet is going through all of this after surviving conditions that should have destroyed it. Think about what it has already endured. It passed perihelion, the closest approach to the sun, when comets experience their most intense heating and radiation pressure. It expelled enormous jets of material, so powerful they surprised experts. It drastically altered its coma structure several times, as if changing its appearance every couple of days. Jets shifted direction, sometimes strengthening, sometimes weakening, as if someone was flipping a cosmic switch. And now, on top of all that chaos, the object is steadily spinning up. There are only two possible scenarios. The optimistic one: the active areas stabilize, the two main jets balance each other, and the acceleration reaches a new equilibrium. The comet spins faster, but stays intact and leaves the solar system essentially unharmed. But the more likely outcome is different. If the activity continues to change chaotically, if new vents open, if the jet directions shift again, if the spiral grows even tighter, the nucleus will enter a regime of serious mechanical stress. This is an ancient interstellar object, held together by weak gravity and aged by billions of years of cosmic radiation. Its outer crust may be tougher, but the inner layers are probably riddled with cracks from thermal shocks, especially after its recent heating near the sun. So right now, at this very moment, this fragile structure is experiencing outgassing and increasing rotation simultaneously. Stress is building, and it cannot increase forever. At some point, something must give. Pure physics.nasa, of course, doesn't use the word breakup in official statements. Their reports are full of careful phrases like changes in rotational state and new data on internal torque. All strict, scientific, and calm. But if you understand the subtext, the meaning is obvious. The comet has altered its rotation, and that is the most sensitive parameter, the one that can lead to destruction if it exceeds the limits. In the coming days and weeks, every available telescope will monitor even the tiniest changes. Researchers will gather more brightness data to measure the rotation period with sub-second accuracy. They'll acquire deep image stacks, combining them to reveal the faintest details, especially to see whether the spiral keeps tightening or begins to diffuse. They'll refine its orbit, since a spinning, jetting comet changes not only its day length, but also its trajectory. The jets that expel material also push the nucleus itself. If the period continues to decrease, if the spiral tightens, if the two active regions become increasingly dominant in the light curve, then it will be clear that today's deviation wasn't random, not a measurement error, but the beginning of a new phase, a phase in which the comet is changing not just its appearance, but its structural integrity. And that makes everything happening not only exciting, but slightly frightening. Because we're watching this in real time. An interstellar wanderer, formed near an alien star unimaginably long ago, is undergoing dramatic changes right before our eyes. Will it stabilize and quietly leave our system? Or fracture? Or show behavior we've never seen before? That's the question researchers are asking right now. They're analyzing new data, running models, trying to forecast what comes next. But one thing is already certain. This comet is far from a peaceful conclusion to its story. It's still unfolding.